Okay, good evening. Hello, everybody here with me at Unity, and hello, everybody live on Zoom. I really appreciate all of you being here. My name is Cindy Whitmer, or Cindy Smarsh. I have two names right now, and you might be wondering why. Well, for the last 33 years, since the first time I got married, my name's been Cindy Whitmer. And I got divorced, 11 and a half years ago, but kept that name. I had kids still growing up and it'd been my name so long. I liked it. It felt good. And 6 years ago, when I started my own business, now all my branding is Cindy Whitmer, and I've written a couple books under that author name. But I just got married a month ago for the second time. And so for sure, I know I want my personal name to be Cindy Smarsh, but I'm still weighing costs and just, different things about what to do about the business. So you can call me Cindy Whitmer, you can call me Cindy Smarsh, you can call me Cindy, you can call me Knucklehead, you can call me whatever you want, but either name honestly feels good to me. So just to clear that up. But I am a coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. And I was also a therapist, a licensed therapist for 25 years. And about 18 years ago, I learned about the field of coaching and thought therapy and coaching were the perfect professional marriage of skill sets. And so I put them together. And now I primarily work with people in midlife and beyond to learn how to really love themselves and build their confidence, and so they can really live fully, and whatever that means to them. And I've lived in Lawrence about 6.5 years, and let me just tell you a little about how I got here. I'm supposed to tell you that we are recording this on Zoom, okay? But Facebook Live did not work, so we're recording it and then we'll put it on our Facebook page, okay? So it'll be there later. So, like I said earlier when we were chatting, I have a lot of stories, but the one I want to share with you that has really led me to Unity and has led me to this time in my life started really in the middle of my life. And I had been married for 22 years, had 2 children, and I was starting to reflect on those first 20 or so years of my adulthood. And I sort of had this life that looked like the all-American dream, I think. I think my husband and I looked like a happy couple when we were out and about, and we had these 2 perfect little kids, and they were becoming teenagers by that time, but we had the white picket fence, we had thriving careers, we were very involved in our community, we were very involved in the church we were both raised in. We're both high-achieving people, and we really believed in diving in deep to anything we were involved in. And so we were kind of everywhere. I was the Girl Scout leader, he was the Boy Scout leader. I was the girls volleyball coach. He was involved in different things with our son's organizations, and we were just really, really involved everywhere. And so I think we ran a pretty good show. You know what I mean? And then when we go home and our kids would go to bed, then our private emotional life would come out, and it wasn't healthy, it wasn't good. And I was running this nonprofit counseling center. We were up in Atchison the last several years of our marriage before we lived in Northeast Iowa, but I kind of woke up in my mid-40s or my early 40s, I guess I should say, and I thought, I think I'm depressed, like I'm exhausted. I think I'm running around living this life, trying to do all things for all people, and that classic thing, saying yes to everything, and trying to be a good wife, and trying to be a good mother, and trying to be a good counselor, and trying to be a good church member, and trying to be a good volunteer, and this, that, and the other, and the other, and the other. And I was looking at my life and going, wow, is this going to be the rest of my life? I spent every holiday with his family. Our life was kind of wrapped around, his stuff, his profession, his family, his this, that, the other, and then of course the kids. I really was hyper-focused on the kids, and I think that was because our relationship was not healthy, and so I hyper-focused there, and I just sort of saw myself spiraling down, because he was, yes, my husband, yes, my college sweetheart, yes, the man that I loved. And I think I was the woman that he loved for sure too, but it was kind of his way or the highway kind of a life. And I'm not here to rat on my first husband. I'm trying to tell you a story about where I was at, because he's a great person in a lot of ways. But our emotional private life was really, really difficult for me. I found it to not be a nurturing relationship. I found it to be, I was supposed to be a certain way, and if I strayed from that, or if I had different ideas than his, he would tell me, you're not supposed to think that way, you're supposed to think this way. You're not supposed to feel this way, you're supposed to feel that way. You're not supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. And if I had a different perspective, it wasn't all right, like ever. And so what happens when you live your life like that, some of you may have lived like this, and when you do, what happens is you start to disappear. You start to feel like you aren't even there in your own life. And that's what I was feeling at that point. I was like, where is she? Where is Cindy? Where am I? Where am I? I'm disappearing right in front of myself. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that was my midlife awakening, crisis, struggle, whatever you want to call it. And I had, no intentions of getting a divorce. The word was a bad word to me. My parents got divorced when I was a teenager, and I swore I would not do that, especially with children, in the house. And so I went to therapy. I asked David if he would go to therapy with me, and he said he didn't believe in therapists or therapy, and of course he was married to one, remember? And yeah, ouch, exactly, ouch, yeah. So that's an example of what it was like. And I said, well, I'm gonna go, and he said, well, yeah, if you need it, you should go, Okay, so I went, and I told my therapist, I said, my goal is to get happy enough that I can stay married. That's what I want. She's like, okay. So we worked on that goal. And I did get happier. And you know how I got happier? I started to do more of just what I thought I should be doing, living how I wanted to live. Now, this wasn't dramatic against any value system or goals we had for our family or our children or anything, but I tolerated less, I grew my confidence, and I was getting happier, which of course was making him even more unhappy. So the marriage actually got worse from me getting happier. So one of the things I did during this time was I chose to train with Jack Canfield, who you may know of as the founder of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. He's also, for many years, had what's called the Success Principles methodology. He's a coach, and he calls himself America's #1 success coach. And he teaches these 64 principles that he believes if you follow, you can have anything you want personally or professionally in your life. And I thought, wow, I mean, I admired this work, I admired this man, and there was an opportunity to train with him. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna go and train with this man. And so I did. And I was blessed to get in a small group with him during one of the workshops or whatever. And he asked us to go around and explain, what our goals were and why we weren't reaching them. And I went down the rabbit hole of saying, well, my husband doesn't believe in entrepreneurship, so I can't have my own practice, and he's keeping me from writing books, and da-da-da-da, and I was blaming my husband for everything. I mean, like everything I brought up, I blamed him. And Jack Canfield turned to me. Jack Canfield, I have two JCs, Jesus Christ and Jack Canfield. And Jack turned to me and said, Cindy, it is your job to live your life. And it was like, I mean, that may not sound very profound to you, but honestly, I felt like the clouds split open, I had tingles down my neck. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, so it was like he was saying, go forth, my dear, and live your life. Like, what are you doing? Wasting your time blaming someone else, even your spouse, for your unhappiness. And so if you hear me say nothing else the rest of tonight or ever, please remember that, what I learned, because it is life-altering. When you realize, oh, I'm living my life. You're not living my life. Your spouse isn't living your life. Your children aren't living your life. Your best friend isn't your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, your church family, whomever's in your life, your business colleagues. You are living your life. And if it's not okay with you how it's going, then it's your job to change it. So then I came home from that training and I started my own, what I call a midlife makeover. A makeover from the inside out. So I did the inner work that I needed to do to then create the life on the outside that I really wanted. And part of that was overcoming some blocks, some fears, learning to believe in myself that I could be, I could be and do and have anything I really wanted if I believed in myself and I trusted the process and those kinds of things. And so it was years of transformation. I mean, I think we're all always transforming, but this was a definite period of time that I really identify as a huge transformation in my life. And so that ended up eventually leading to divorcing David. And then our children had a few years left in high school. And so I stayed with them in Atchison, an hour north of here, if you don't know where that is. It's a much smaller community. But I knew when they left, I was leaving. I'd been to Lawrence before because I have a very close friend here named Debbie that some of you have met. So I went on a trip. I took my kids to New York to school, dropped them off, and then I drove around the country for about 3 months and visited friends and visited communities kind of like Lawrence. I had a list, criteria of a community I wanted to live in, kind of community I wanted to live in. Lots of art, culture, outdoor life. I really kind of wanted an ocean. That was one of the sacrifices of choosing here. Mid-sized community, college community, a place with churches I resonated with, et cetera, et cetera. So I went on this trip, and during that time, I ended up living in Rehoboth Beach. I traveled for like 3 months, and then I thought, oh, I'm in love with Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. So I thought, what the heck? I'm going to rent a upstairs apartment, live a half a block off the beach for 3 months. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to get back to getting fit, physically fit again, start dating again, and enjoy the ocean a lot, and decide if this is going to be my permanent community. Well, I was doing all those things. Exercise classes, writing groups, started dating again, all that. And then one night I fell and shattered this wrist into 19 pieces. And it was like 3 weeks into this trip. And I knew about 30 people by first name, but no one by last name. And the neighbors were all gone because it was winter time. So the beach people weren't there. And I fell in the driveway. It was a real classy moment. But anyway, there's so much about that, but my life changed there. It was only 3 weeks in. But I'd been to a Unity church the Sunday before. This happened on a Thursday night. And I had gone to a Unity church because I grew up Community of Christ, and there wasn't a Community of Christ church there. But I'd always heard about Unity churches. And I always thought, oh, someday I'm going to go to a Unity church just for the heck of it. And so I did in Rehoboth Beach. And I'd gone one time, and they were so great. And they said, will you be back next Sunday? I said, oh, absolutely. I'll be back next Sunday. I promise I'll be back next Sunday. I can't wait to see you all again. And then Thursday night I did that. I had surgery Friday. I was still in the hospital. I got back Saturday. Of course, I didn't go to church. I couldn't drive. I couldn't call anyone anyway. So I didn't show up. And I don't even remember how someone from there found out that this had happened. But they found out. And remember, I went one time to this church once. And they started coming, showing up with food, showing up to pray, calling, checking in. I mean, it was like, I came one time, and I just never got over that. I never got over that. I just thought that was amazing. So nonetheless, I fell in love with Unity there and lived in Rehoboth Beach a few months. Ultimately decided I wanted to stay in the Midwest. I'm a Midwest girl. I have a lot of family and loved ones, not right here, but within a 200-mile radius of here. And my grandparents were ailing at that time, and I just didn't want to be far away. So I thought, I'm probably going to go to Lawrence. But I came to visit Lawrence one day, not to see Debbie, but to see Lawrence, visit Lawrence. And I decided I'm going to pop in on the Unity Church. But when I was driving here from Atchison, I said, God, I want some signs, because I think Lawrence is it, but I'm just not sure. I'd been to a lot of great communities around the country. And I walked in the doors back there, and there were 2 people greeting that day. And the first person I've literally never seen again, but I can see him like he's standing in front of me. And he said, hi. And I said, hi, I'm Cindy and visiting and da-da-da. And he said, well, if you decide to move to Lawrence, I'm a landlord and I have property that I might be able to rent to you. And I was like, oh. And then he said, you need to meet this other person, Jay Pryor, over here, who was greeting. And Jay said, oh, what do you do? I'm a life coach. And I was like, so I meet a potential landlord and a life coach. I thought, okay, those are pretty good signs. And 5 months later, I was here. I moved here. So So yeah, so unity has really been a part of my transformation too. The church I grew up in, I still align with. I love on a worldwide scale, the worldwide ministries, but the local congregation was, in my opinion, not keeping up with what the worldwide ministries of the church were doing and with where I was going in my life. And so I kind of went to both for many years and then decided I wanted to become a member of Unity last year. So I had a shift in my spiritual life, a shift in my professional life, my personal life, my geographic, location, all kinds of things. And so I feel like what I learned was how to really love and honor myself, really say yes to myself. And that is self-love, is saying yes to yourself about what you really know to be true for who you are and what you need and what you want. And just saying yes, 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 yes. Whether it's, I want this sandwich for lunch, not that. Or I want to live here, not there. Or I want to stay aligned in this relationship, or I don't. Or I believe this now, not that. Whatever it is, or I am this professionally now, not that. Whatever it is, if you really want to love yourself, ask yourself what you need, what you want, all day long, all night long, and then say yes. And that is self-love. Okay. And we'll get into more of that later, but that is really a piece of what my transformation's been. So then I got here and I started a business, didn't know really what it was going to look like, but I just started teaching online for whoever'd show up, one person or 10 or 50 or, whatever, and teaching the principles I'd learned from Jack Canfield and other things I'd learned over the years. And eventually knew I wanted to, I was teaching the same things over and over and over and over again. And so I created a methodology. But the secrets to transformation that have come forth for me over the years are one of the things I wanted to share with you tonight. So number one, we've already talked about, you must take full responsibility for your life. Seriously, blaming and complaining about things outside of your control, like other people or circumstances out there, the economy, the weather, the politics, the this, the that, the whatever, is really a sincere waste of your time, because when I look up there, I'm looking at the camera to acknowledge all of you out there on Zoom. It's really a waste of our time because we don't have any control over those things really in a direct, you know what I'm saying? But you can always change yourself and always change yourself. So you're unhappy, go, what do I need to do to find more joy in my life? Number two, you've got to know what you want, what you need, what you desire in order to get it. Now that may sound very odd to you for me to say that, like, well, no kidding, right? But I can't tell you how many people say to me when I say, well, what do you want? When they come to me as a coach or they come to me for whatever. And I say, well, what do you want? And they say, well, I want to be happy. Well, no one wants to be sad, right? But you happy, you happy, you happy, you happy, you happy can come in 1,000 different forms, right? And so we want to know what your definition of happiness is, what your definition of success is, not mine, not what some book tells you, but what you say, what you believe will really give you that feeling of satisfaction in your life, meaning in your life, joy. Okay, so you've got to know what you want. If you don't know what you want, then start noticing when you feel really good, when you feel like just really at peace, or really elated or really aligned, like, oh, I am right where I'm meant to be. When you have that feeling like, gosh, I'm really right where I'm meant to be, whether that's in a professional setting, whether that's the place you're at, whether that's with certain people, whatever that is, those are clues about what really matters to you, what really gets you excited. Number 3, you must be willing to let go of everything that no longer serves you. Like if you really want to transform your life and be really happy, letting go is going to need to be a piece of this. Letting go. Now, this can come in many forms. This can be getting rid of the clutter out of your house, right? Or your garage, or your car, or your office, or wherever you have stuff. This can be those beliefs you were raised with that you adopted without question because that was your culture you were brought up in, whatever that is, whether it was spiritual beliefs or beliefs about the world or beliefs about who you are or whatever, but they don't align anymore. You know, you think of that and you think, yeah, that's really not what I'm about now. Can't really get behind that anymore. You might have to let those go or write your own version of them that fits better for who you are now, based on all your experiences and things, new things you've heard. So it may be beliefs that you need to let go. You may need to let go of people. You may need to let go of people. I really firmly believe I had to shed the skin of my first marriage to come into myself. I just couldn't figure out. I tried for a long time to figure out how can I do it? How can I stay and be fully myself? And I felt sort of like I was a fish out of the water trying to make that work. And you know what happens if a fish is out of water too long? And that's how I felt. I was dying. And so I knew I thought, well, I'm still holding it together as a mother. I'm still holding it together as a counselor. I'm still holding it together as a daughter. I'm still holding it together. But if I keep going, I might start to lose all of that. So I thought, okay, lose the marriage, keep the rest. And that's basically what happened. So you may need to let go of a person or a relationship of some sort that you have. And it could be you are in business with other people and that doesn't work for you anymore. It could be, anyone. It could be a friend. It could be family. It could be anyone. So anything at all could possibly need to go for you to open yourself up to the new or to kind of release baggage that lets you live fully and freely. Number 4, you must change your mind from being your worst enemy and make it your very best friend. It's ready to be either one at any moment in time. If you're really going to transform and feel really happy and satisfied in your life, then you're going to want to really become best friends. Have your mind be your best friend. So this means 1,000 things, right, that we could talk for the next 6 months about. But part of it is changing that negative self-talk. When you say, oh, I'm disgusted with myself for whatever reason, and shifting that over to seeing the wonder and beauty that is you every day. And really taking in your worth. Again, self-love, right? Part of how we express self-love is how we talk to ourselves in our head. And we can see the best in us, or we can look at what we don't like. Look at what you don't like long enough to go, how do I want to be? What would I like? How would I like to be different? And then start moving in that direction, not belaboring it, dwelling on it, regretting all of it. So shifting, again, use your mind to transform, to change. We want to drop fear and have faith. One of my goals right now, my mantra, whatever, right now is to be faithful and fearless. Like I want to be faithful and fearless. I want to trust and believe and act on that. You know, and that's me attempting to use my mind and my spirit as my best friend. Okay. So there's so much about mindset and mastering your mindset. And, you know, like I said, that's a whole thing, but it's very important. So I hope you'll dive deeper into that kind of work if you're not satisfied in your life. And then number 5, the other secret is that what's best for you is genuinely best for everyone around you, even if they don't like it, even if it frightens them, even if it angers them, even if you feel bad. If you're honest about what you need and what you want, and you sincerely go after that, the ripple effect is beautiful. It will lead the other players in your world and people you don't even know in a positive direction as well. Okay? It's really true. And I know that's tough to get our minds around because most of us are raised to believe that we need to think of others first, meaning, oh, if you want that and I want that, then we have to do what you want because then I'm a good person and I'm being kind to you. And that's what makes the world go round. Now, I'm not saying become a narcissistic pig who never thinks of other people. That isn't what I'm saying. But for example, if I would have kept staying married, not feeling it, what favor was I doing him, really? What favor? When I really couldn't hardly stand him anymore. Do you think I was a good wife just hanging in there like that? It's embarrassing to admit, but I wasn't. I didn't respect him anymore. I was fed up with him. It wasn't good. I'm thrilled for him because I couldn't do that anymore. So, and would I have been serving our children if I would have stayed? Really? Would I? I mean, I stayed a long time unhappily thinking I was doing it for the kids. It was best for the kids. I mean, there is a whole belief system that it is best to sacrifice and suffer for the betterment of everyone, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So it is a secret, but I'm telling Cindy doesn't lie. It's the truth. So understand that what is best for you really is best for everyone. Okay. So the midlife makeover method, which is the methodology I created through my own transformation, it's what I kept saying to my coaching clients over and over again. I realized this is like a step-by-step process you need to teach because you're saying it over and over and over again. So there's really 6 steps, and I'm just going to breeze over them quickly. If you want to dive deeper into them, there's a book about them out there. It's $20, just whatever. And this is what I base my coaching programs on and a lot of my talks and everything else. But step 1 is that we have to wake up. Wake up. Wake up to who we are, how we're showing up, what we're doing well, what we're not doing so well, and all those things. What's been working, what's not, what are our strengths, what are our areas of growth, and really admit to ourselves where we are falling short in being ourselves, being our best selves. Okay, so there is a waking up and a waking up to the realities of what you're feeling. A lot of us live on the denial train to survive circumstances. It's not that bad, it's not that bad, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. I'll just focus on the good, it's not that bad, right? Waking up means you go, oh, okay. I give us a 10 over here, I give us a 2 over there, I give myself a 5 here, a 7 here, a 3 there, and go, okay, wake up. Really honest with yourself. Take a good long look in the mirror. Number 2, then get crystal clear about what you really want, what you really need. Very specifically, when you go to a restaurant, you do not tell the waiter or whomever comes up to your table, you don't say, I'm hungry, I need food, go get me some. Right? Have you ever done that? I dare you to do it the next time you go to a restaurant and see what happens. No, really, just go get me some food. What's going to happen? Who knows? You could get food you're allergic to. You could get food you do not like. You could get food you love. You could get food out of your price range. You're specific, right? I want the chicken Cobb salad with the ranch dressing or honey mustard on the side or whatever, right? Water with no lemon, tea with lemon, you're specific. And then most of the time, that's what's going to be served to you. Same thing. If you're loosey-goosey about life and what you want, I just want to be happy, I just want to feel better, I just want to be happy, I want to feel better. That's not enough. Okay? That's not enough. Number 3, eliminate energy drainers. Energy drainers are anything that are sucking the life right out of you. A lot of those things I talked about letting go earlier, those are energy drainers. Your clutter, your guilt you've been hanging on to for, 10 days, 10 months, 10 years. Things you've left unsaid you want to say, that's an energy drainer. The projects you haven't finished that you want to do. I mean, it can be anything that's kind of a loose end, anything that's weighing heavily on you, all those things we want to get rid of. Number 4, master your mindset. Your mind could be your best friend, can be your worst enemy. We want to master it being your best friend. Number 5, we got to develop success habits. A lot of this work, I call it work. We can call it play, we can call it whatever you want, but it is, on again, off again. We're either doing it or we're not, right? It's not like a college degree that you get and then you have it, right? Making your mind your best friend, for example, is an all day long, all night long activity, awareness, consciousness, right? 50,000 thoughts a day on average we have. You have 50,000 chances a day to make your mind your best friend or your worst enemy. So you want to develop those habits day in, day out, all the day in, day out habits that support you getting what you want and feeling how you want to feel. Okay. And then the next day and the next day, and then drop the destructive ones, right? We all have a few destructive habits, right? Or have had them. They got to go too. That's another thing to let go, actually. Right? Okay. And then step 6 is to keep it up, to create a sustainability plan. So you really stay in touch with yourself. You stay aligned with yourself. You're really, going for what you want. You're staying conscious about who are you? What do you need? What do you want to align your life with? And, what habits do you want to incorporate to support that? How's your mindset lining up with all of that? What can you put in place? What systems in your life? What habits? What routines? What people? Whatever to support all of this, to keep it going. Okay. So I'm on a mission really in my life to teach other people to really live fully. That's what excites me a lot. It's like, okay, how can we all live fully? How can we all live fully? feel really good, feel like our lives matter, they mean something, and feel satisfaction in that experience. And I find that the unity principles really, really support that very, very clearly. So I just want to touch on that a little bit. So I sort of put these in my own language, but these are the 5 principles with Cindy just simplifying them for tonight, okay? So 1, God is everywhere and always present in every circumstance. Well, now, if that's true, which I believe that to be true, if you can embrace that or some form of that, you'll live fully, right? I mean, what could be better than everything's God? God's everywhere, present in all circumstances, not just the pretty ones, but all circumstances, right? And number 2, human beings are innately good because they are God. Wow. Okay, then. No pressure. Right? But we're innately good. There's that self-love again. If you really can wrap your mind around this principle, then there should be no picking on ourselves, right? You don't tell God that God's too fat or looks dumb in that outfit or should have cleaned better or didn't show up on time or what's their problem or, right? We don't do that. So if we are God, we are good. That's what a way to live fully, right? Is to firmly step into that and believe it. Number 3, our thoughts create our experiences. Again, this is part of mastering your mindset, making your mind your best friend, and focusing on what you want, focusing on the world that you want to live in, not on what's wrong with the world. What we focus on expands. Okay, so we want to focus on what we want the world to be like. I want to see the love in the world. I want to see the peaceful circumstances in the world. I want to see people giving generously to others. I want to see people working together, being genuinely connected with common purpose and striving for unity of all people. Right? So I look around for that. I know there's other things that we see going on, we hear, but I choose to take more in because of the positive, because, when you watch the news, for example, that is a microcosm. That's just this one little view of what's happening. But it looks like it's everything that's happening because it's everywhere, right? Phone, you get on your phone, you get on social media, you get on television, whatever, you can hear people talking about things, so it seems like that's the story out there. And then we can get really discouraged and depressed and feel helpless and hopeless and powerless. So why do that to yourself? Why? You might say, well, Cindy, you can't just stick your head in the sand, but these things are happening and we've got to do stuff about them. Okay, then be the love that you want, right? Be the peaceful person. Be the peaceful person, not the one against those other things, because that's not peaceful. Okay, does that make sense? So our thoughts create our experiences. That's the 3rd principle of unity. Number 4, prayer and meditation connect and align us to our God nature. So we want to connect to our God nature. We want to be in relationship with our God self. That is one of the ways to feel good, is to feel the God within. And silence is a wonderful way to get there. That's one of the wonderful paths I've found to really tuning into that part of me that knows the bigger, better picture, you know? And that has never led me astray. Not ever. Not ever. As a matter of fact, I hope you won't go away and think, oh, she just told her divorce story and then that was it. I'm not trying to do that, but one of the most profound moments for me, I had a lot of fear about getting divorced. Am I going to destroy the children? Are my in-laws going to hate me? I loved them so much. I was so close to them. Will the nonprofit in this small town, I was the executive director, I was the face, and we needed funding to survive. And Atchison's kind of a conservative. This was a religious counseling center. And I thought, ooh, maybe I'm going to destroy the reputation of the counseling center. I mean, I had a laundry list of fears that almost talked me out of getting a divorce. But I started eliminating those drainers. I started letting go of some of those fears. And I was just down to the one. Am I going to destroy the children? Am I going to destroy the children? Because I thought I'd rather destroy myself than destroy the children. And I was praying about this and meditating on this and praying and meditating on this. And one day, I literally saw these two giant wood doors, like astronomically large, just came in a meditation of mine, and they busted open. And there was this winding path. And then the path went like solid straight after a while in the vision. And I heard a voice say, "My daughter, don't be afraid. I have great plans for you, all four of you." All four of you, meaning me, the husband, the daughter, the son. Don't be afraid. And so that came through a meditation, aligning with the God within. And I thought, okay, all right, okay, I believe you. So if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling unsure, if you are unsettled in your life about anything at all, go get quiet some way. Go for a walk or pray or do whatever helps you center and give God a chance to come forth within you. And then number 5, we must apply our spiritual learnings for a fulfilling, abundant life. I think that speaks for itself, right? So it isn't just unicorns and rainbows in the sky. It's practical. You know, let's live this out together, right? Live it out together and support one another in that journey. So that's really what I wanted to share with you tonight. Do you have questions? Or did I just answer them all? Sorry? Oh, I did answer them all. We have it right over here in row 2. Bethany says I answered them all. No, seriously, is there anything? I flew through a lot of stuff. Yes. So true. Yes, so she's saying when we say yes to ourselves, there could be some real backlash from others that we're saying no to, which is so true. And that's part of why we say no to ourselves sometimes, right? Just to avoid that miserable experience. So again, think about, I like to look at life this way. I like to look at life as absolute yeses and enlightened no's. Okay, absolute yeses are those things that you know, oh yeah, I wouldn't miss that for anything, or I definitely need to get in on that, or I know I need to do this or want to do this, or this person feels so good for me to spend time with. I know this is a yes relationship. And the no's are enlightened. They're thought filled. They're not just no. They're, hold on. Okay, I'm being asked to do this. I could say yes. If I say yes, how does that feel? Well, I don't know if I have the time. I don't know if I have the space. I'm not sure I'm the best one for that job. Oh, but they might be mad at me. If I say no, how does that feel? I feel a little guilty, but oh, what a relief. I know I'm not really supposed to do that. I'm not even really inclined to do that kind of thing. It doesn't even really feel good. They might be mad at me. So I would take time for decisions more than just the quick reaction. When anybody asks you any question, you can say, oh, let me think about that. Can I get back to you in 24 hours, 2 days, a week, whatever. And then take time to really discriminate for yourself. And then remember, you are in charge of who? You. Am I in charge of any of your feelings tonight or ever? Besides Kathy Pryor's. She's telling me, I am in charge of Kathy Pryor's. So whatever I need to do to please Kathy Pryor before we end this discussion, I will be doing that. That's an absolute yes. No. Let's review. No, that's not true. But really, and how people respond to us, really remember this. How people respond to us about anything is about them, not us, actually. Okay, so if someone gets upset with you for saying no, who's got the problem right now? They have the problem, right, Betty? That's absolutely right. And they need to solve their problem. You don't. If you say yes just to please, then you've got a problem that you need to solve. Okay? Is that helpful? Okay, good. Are you happy about that answer, Kathy Pryor? Okay. All right. All right. All right, give me another one. Let's see if we can make Kathy happy about it. No, that was a great question, I think. I mean, I think that comes up so much for all of us, for sure, for sure. Okay? Questions, comments? What did this all bring up for you? Yes. Really? Resonated. Oh, good. I'm wonderful. Congratulations. Welcome to the transformation train. Right? No, I'm really glad. I'm glad. I'm so pleased because besides pleasing Kathy Pryor tonight, I was hoping to please all the rest of you as well. What other questions do you have or areas of discussion? Anything you're like, come on. What about that? I mean, I'm ready for anything. Gary? Oh, that's a fantastic question. So Gary was bringing up, he setting goals and having visions for life and all of that. But what about time? What about money? What about some of those practical earthly issues, right, that come into play? I'm glad you brought that up. because we all can feel those limits or constraints in life, right? So my response to that, there's a spiritual response to that that probably isn't very satisfying, right? Be faithful, fearless, whatever, believe in, whatever, and it'll come, that kind of, there is that, hold the vision, right? Hold the vision and the how will appear. And I like to say to do what you can right now, right? Right? So if Francesca, for example, wants to go to Italy and 2 years or 3 years or maybe a year, I can't remember what your thoughts are, and this is not Francesca's telling me this. This is me just using that as an example. But so I imagine she's going to need X number of dollars to go to Italy, right? And maybe she doesn't have all that laying around right now. I don't even know. I'm just using it as an example. But she can start to save, if it's even $5 a week right now, maybe, right? Or maybe she can start studying different trip options for groups right now. So do what you can right now. When I started my business, for example, I did not have a vision for it. I didn't know there'd be a book that I would write. I didn't know there'd be a methodology I would create. I didn't even know who my target audience would be. I didn't even know how to, at that time, handle an email list, for example, which is an online, communication with your audience or whatever. But I learned, so learn what you can learn about what you want to know or what you want to do, and just do what you can and ask your inner self for inspiration on what those steps might be. Like, if I want this over here, and right now I don't know how to fit it in my life financially or time-wise or logistically or whatever, what's my next logical step over to there? Is it just changing my mind so I believe it's possible? Is it to start to meditate about the path to there now and see what ideas or inspirations come? Or do I know I could do this right now, even though I can't do that right now, I can do this, and then see what comes next. Is that helpful? Okay, good. Glad to hear that. And thanks for letting me just spontaneously sort of grab onto that dream of yours, that vision. Yes. Other thoughts, questions? Yes, ma'am. Mm. 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 Okay, so can I lovingly point out that you are wasting precious time worrying about not having enough time? Isn't that ironic? And she's not alone, is she? How many of you have done that or some form of that? I have. We've all done some form of that where we take time out worrying about what could or could not happen, or fear what might work or what might not work, or what could go on, or da 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 da, instead of diving into what we want, right? And seeing where it leads us. There's the desires you have within you are alive in you for a reason. They're alive in you for a reason. So you will be given the path. That desire is important for some reason. Now, one of my desires when I got married the first time was to have a golden anniversary, and we didn't make it. I divorced him at year 22. Okay. But the desire was a healthy, lifelong relationship, to be healthy in relationship, right? So it's come in a different form. It's come in a different way, but it's here, right? It's not a 50th anniversary. That's okay. But does that make sense? Okay. So if you have a desire within, it's going to get you where you're going to get there. You're going to get where you need to go from having that desire, or you would not have it. Those things don't just randomly fall out of the sky, I don't think, is what I'm trying to say. Did you like how I said that, Kathy? Or was that a little eh? How about you folks on Zoom? How you doing out there? I hope you're good. Okay. Helpful? Okay. What else? What else? What else? What else? Yes, Phil. Mm-hmm. 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 Thank you for asking about this. Phil's asking about the unconscious part of our experiences that come up to bite us often, right? There's a saying I keep in mind that's popular in the psychology movement, and that is when you're acting hysterical in a moment right now, it is your history. So it's not just the moment. Let's say, John says something to me in a board meeting and I'm offended. And I attack John. And it's nothing like John didn't mean anything, but I just go. That is not just me experiencing whatever that button that pushed in me. It's not just that moment like, oh, John's making me mad. Now that's what we usually think, right? We usually think, well, John Pryor made me mad in that board meeting. How could John say such a thing? John has never made me mad in a board meeting. Just side note, it just came up to use this as an example. But what psychology says is there's something deeper in my history that maybe John said something like, well, I think a better idea than yours, Cindy, might be to, gather for the parade at 1:30 instead of 2:00. And maybe it pushed the button in me from history that said, Cindy, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You've never been good enough. You're still not good enough. So I go hysterical because it's an old struggle. It's back here. I say it's in the file in the back of our heads, and it's been opened up in that moment. So what do we do about that? First of all, we must recognize, this is part of waking up, is we want to recognize when that's happening, okay? When it's not just about your right this second, but it is somehow similar, familiar, tied to somehow to something an old wound you have that is buried way back there that goes, uh-oh, look at there, zoop, there it is, something just like it, here I come. And go, oh, wait, this isn't just right now. This isn't just right now. Okay, another example of this that might be helpful, I hope it is one of my issues with my first husband was he was very controlling. He wanted to tell me how to dress, how to do my hair, how I should think, feel, and act, as you know already, and so forth. Well, now I'm in this other marriage. Okay. And I've been with my current husband 6 years, and I moved in with him a few years ago. And I work from home, and he works in a chemical company in Kansas City. And shortly after I moved in with him one day, he said, okay, at 10:00 in the morning, open the curtains in the southwest corner of our bedroom and close the ones in the northeast. I mean, he gave me this whole, and then later this afternoon, turn the thermometer to he had this whole plan, okay, on how to regulate the temperatures throughout the house. We have 3 floors and there's 2 systems and whatever, this is Cindy's lifestyle. Oh, the sun's out. Open all the curtains. Let's let the natural light in. I don't think about what floor will now be too hot and then the air will run too much. And then so I'm like, so he gave me all these instructions and I thought, what is he trying to control me? Is he trying to tell me in the house I live in when I can open curtains and when I can close them and when I can let sunlight in and when I can't? I mean, it was just like, I was boiling inside. Now, I didn't express this to him, luckily. It didn't come out. But as he was gone that day, I thought, who does he think he is to tell me I'm a grown woman, I can open curtains and close them? And then I realized, oh, wait. First, I had a very controlling mother. And then I married a very controlling man. So this was one of my buttons, one of my old wounds that I hadn't completely worked through yet coming to the service. So wake up, recognize this is what you're experiencing, and then as best you can, look at that wound and go, how can I heal that wound? What can I do to resolve that pain of feeling like everyone controls me but me, right? Take charge of your life, Cindy. Take full responsibility for your life, right? And you are good enough. You're more than good enough, as everyone is, blah, 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 blah. So give yourself those messages and then reinterpret what you're experiencing in the moment now. Ed was not trying to control me. He was trying to control the temperatures in the house and the energy bill. Both those things. He wanted me comfortable. He knew I worked on the 3rd floor, which is the coldest floor. And so he was trying to regulate things so I would be comfortable, And so when you can step back and get conscious and reinterpret what you're experiencing, that can be healing as well. Does that help? On some level. Unconscious work that's heavy work. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. In case you couldn't hear him, Phil was talking about trauma very early in our lives, maybe pre our memories, our conscious memories. Some studies even talk about womb trauma and so forth. So whatever your beliefs are, A-okay here. What I would say about that is to acknowledge that most people are not born into perfectly healthy, happy situations, right? And even with well-meaning, reasonably healthy caregivers, there will be experiences that we are exposed to as people that may be difficult for us to interpret or manage when we're really, 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 really little and can be traumatic. And so if you have a wound, a theme, an experience that you feel like you are recycling, you're having this experience again. You're having this experience again. You're feeling this again. You're thinking this destructive thought again and again and again and again in your life and in many different areas of your life. That, if I were doing therapy or coaching with you, I would say, let's really look at that. What is that theme that just keeps coming up over and over and over and over and over again? And if you can't take it back and go, which 3 childhood memories did you feel like this and you can't come up with anything, that's okay. You're still feeling that, whether you can tag it to something specific or not. What needs to happen, in my opinion, is to heal the feelings, the fears, the stress that it is producing now. Does that make sense? Okay. That's the test. That's one of them, right? Yes. If this were an actual test, what was that old commercial? You would have been given instructions on what to do. Anyway, yes, Francesca. How do you do the what? Okay. Thank you, Francesca. That doesn't push any buttons of mine at all. I am not having a traumatic experience. I'm really not. I'm just being silly. Okay, so no, I really want to, I want to do the best I can to clear that for you. So I said is if you can't tie, okay, so if you're finding yourself feeling something negative or destructive or having a repeated experience in this lifetime, in the present, like you're always feeling taken advantage of in your relationships. Let's just pull that one out. Like every friendship you think you're being taken advantage of, and in your family relationships and in your unity relationships and in your business relationships, you feel like, gosh, I'm always the one gonna, if that just keeps feeling like it's being recycled and recycled and recycled, and you're thinking, I'm just not worth anything, I guess I'm just not worth it. I'm not important. I'm not important. I'm not important. Even if I did a deep dive with you and I said, okay, Francesca, let's look back in your earliest life. What 3 memories do you have that where you didn't feel worthy or you felt like you were being taken advantage of as a little girl? Even if you can go, oh, well, when I was 4, this happened. And when I was 6, this happened. Or when I was 2, that happened. Even if you can't do that and tie the present experience with a past experience specifically, because Phil was asking about very early times in our lives, if you can't identify it, I don't think it has to matter. What matters is, how are you feeling? What is this experience you're having over and over and over in your life right now? And how can you heal that experience and change the trajectory of that theme in your life? Is that helpful? Yeah, I mean, if that understanding helps you, if you can access that, it might help make sense to things more for many of us, but it isn't absolutely necessary. It's kind of like those of you who, for whatever reason, don't know the medical histories of your biological families. You don't know that, but you need treatment now for a physical something. It's not necessary. It might be nice to know what mom and dad or grandma or grandpa or whatever, what their histories are, but it's not going to necessarily mean you can't get your health taken care of. Does that make sense? Okay. Do we have other thoughts, ideas, questions? Yes, Betty. Mm-hmm. Writing what you feel at that moment. You know, you may want to contribute it to a person or thing or whatever. Get to the bottom of the moment that you felt and try and put a time where you generally were you at any age, time, or whatever. But talk to yourself because you have that memory and you know exactly what you're talking about.
We just don't know how to pull it out. But writing is so important in that area, so important. And so if you have something, just try writing. Just sit and be quiet with it and
I thank you for that, Betty, because that is another way to really tap into that God within, the God within that knows all, right? And so Betty was saying she's a rebirthing coach and suggesting that if you want to explore this more, to also do some quiet time in writing and pull whatever, see what happens, see what shows up on the page, see what comes forth for you, and see what you can do with that information that comes. It's beautiful. All right, any other last questions, comments? And I want to tell you about a couple things before we go, but is there any other questions or anything? I see some have left the building, but Kathy Pryor is still here. Hopefully all of you on Zoom are still here. I wish I could take questions from the Zoom folks. I'm sure she'd be very happy to do that. Would add to her joy this evening. Okay, so out on the table, there are these flyers here called Summer of Change. I'm doing a free workshop next Tuesday, the 13th of June at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Central Standard Time on Zoom. So no matter where you are, you can join this if you'd like. It's free of charge. So I'm going to approach the subject of change a little deeper. I'm going to talk about some questions to ask yourself to move through change, some 4 common things that really keep you from making changes that you want to make and what to do about those, and some other goodies in that. So it will be about an hour long on Zoom. So if you want to access the information, there's flyers out there. And then my book, The Midlife Makeover Method, is also out there. It's $20. There's different ways you can pay for it if you'd like, or a love offering or nothing, but those are out there as well. And if you want more information about my coaching, speaking, writing stuff, it's one of my names, CindyDWhitmer.com. So CindyDWhitmer.com. So thank you so much for your kind attention. Thank you for your participation far and wide. And thank you for the privilege of being here and spending Friday night with you.
Hello. Oh, yeah.